All right. So here we have a little web extra snippet here for Soapbox Derby. Sticking around is Buddy and Jen from the Global Studies Group that have been the main ones spearheading organization in the community college system. Joining us on the panel is Ryan Villarreal. I say his name the way it should be said, who writes for the Laney Tower and has been covering these education cuts and the ongoing saga.
Doing a pretty good job.
Great to be here, Lee. Thank you for having me.
Glad you can make it. So we have extra time to talk about things that weren't covered. What exactly do you need to get out there?
All right, well, let's first. I want to talk about the role of little organizations like this, little radio stations, student radio stations, and student newspapers, because you guys are the only ones giving us a chance to talk to some sort of mass population. Berkeley Planet and Laney Tower do pieces on us all the time, and we're really appreciative of that. I think people do read those, and I'm sure there's been a bunch of people that have come to our teach-ins because of that. And I feel like you guys have a big role in making this movement go forward successfully. So,
well, thank you. I'll pat on the back.
And I'll just add to that. I guess it's really important to have a local media news source provide relevant issues to specific communities, because there's so much information out there these days on the internet, and people are being bombarded with all kinds of propaganda from all levels, and it's important that you have someone from that community keeping a voice out there,
right,
speaking to the people.
Yeah, I remember how SF Gate reported the September 24th walkout, it wasn't what they reported. It was what Arnold Schwarzenegger said. He called the walkout, it was system-wide, so, all across the UC system in California, but he called us a screaming interest group, which is like, I maybe I appreciate that they reported that. That's what he said, but that also kind of fuels our fire a little bit.
How do you guys feel? Do you feel you're being recognized, or is that something that's going to be built up over the next few months?
It's been, a month and a half right now, since we originally started getting bigger and involving more schools. And we had somebody from the Berkeley Daily Planet come to our Speak Out at Berkeley City College, and they reported on that. And then also Ryan has been reporting things in the Laney Tower, and there was even a letter that I wrote to the editor of the East Bay Express that got published about the budget cuts also.
Have you written a letter to the editor to the Laney Tower yet?
No.
You just tell Ryan.
Yeah, I'll tell Ryan, and then he'll put me in some quotes. Yeah. No, but it was one writer, Jay Youngdahl, and he did a whole little bit about cuts to community colleges in, I think it was early September.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of writing back, reinforcing the statements he made, and but at the end of his article, it kind of lacked hope for students, and that's not a good way to go about it. If people don't have hope, if they don't have an idea of something they can do, then we're just going to sit back and take it, and we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, because look at the alternative right now. But even before the recession, they were cutting or trying to cut education all the time. It's and I just can't imagine it getting much worse than it is right now.
They say with the Peralta budget, they can actually, unlike a four-year university, they can cut it midway through the year.
The May revise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to discuss exactly what do you guys want from the March 4th? What you just say budget cuts save education, but I realize that's something we weren't very poignant about.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what do you guys want from this march?
Well, that's a great point, and that's something that a lot of people ask. And our idea is if we can get thousands of people from all levels of education to go to this, then it might not directly be the solution, but it will give people sort of the idea of and the excitement of there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people who want to do something. I can do something too. I'm going to go back to my school. I'm going to tell everyone about this. If you think about the rally that happened at Cal, there was 5,000 people, and we brought 60 people from the community college. And after that, people were like, I want to do something. Like, they didn't say anything about community colleges. We need to do something for community colleges. So it's not really a beginning or an end. It's more of like something that we need to do. We need to sort of be there and tell them we're angry and tell them we want change. Yeah. But it's also as sort of like a motivating factor for us to go back. And
I tell people I hope we have to get a voice for education, because like education does not have a voice right now. You hear it, like, we're under attack, and you know it's really, you know, I'm not going to say it's deliberate, but when you look at unemployment, you know, it's 12% hovering around there in California, and you see that they're cutting the budget back on schools, you know, lowering accessibility. You know, it's weird that happens during a recession, you know, when unemployment's high. It's almost saying like, well, we don't have jobs, so we don't need an educated workforce for those jobs. And that's totally backwards. It should not be happening.
That's a very good point. In times of recession or economic crisis, people tend to go back to school. And it says, let's see, it was, I think Vice Chancellor said that the enrollment is up 11% at the Peralta College District.
Statewide, it's 5%.
Statewide, it's 5%. But classes have been cut nearly 50% at some of these colleges. And so it makes it really tough for people to actually transfer on to go anywhere from community colleges.
A lot of schools are canceling even their winter intersessions, which is the month period where they take kind of like a really fast-paced class of like English or sociology or anthropology. And other schools are cutting their summer sessions as well.
So it's pretty detrimental to education all around. Where do you think the money would come from, though? Have you guys thought about that, or is that that's been
the money exists in California?
In whose hands?
I believe it's a question, and I'm not an expert at all, but I believe it's a question of reallocation of where the tax money goes. If you look at the statistics of like how much California spends towards the war and how much they spend on education or something like that.
Yeah, well, and it's the fact that it's the 10th largest economy in the world. I mean, if you
it dropped from 8th?
Right. Was it 8th?
Yeah, okay, I think it's been going down, though.
I thought 9,
okay. Well, it's top
big.
10.
It's,
You know,
we have money.
If California were to secede and become its own nation, it would be the 10th wealthiest nation, or 8th or 9th or whatever in the world. You know, it's an absolute scandal that, like, people don't just have free education right now. It's true for a lot of things in the U.S., I think, on a larger scale.
Just to add to that, you said there's not money. I guess we pay taxes. Our community college is actually subsidized by, like, the state. I mean, you notice that international students or out-of-state residents pay $190 per unit now, while we pay. I'll disclose that I do go to community college at Laney. We pay $26 a unit, and that's just been increased from $20 over the summer. So a $6 increase.
Per unit, so that's, I mean, 70 to 100, depending on how many, per year, depending on how many units you take.
Very true.
Well, let's just talk about the dysfunctional tax system in California a little bit more.
Tell me, I'm actually not very knowledgeable of that.
Yeah, well, we learned a lot from Richard Hansen. He came and explained the tax system. He pointed out a lot of pretty fishy occurrences. For instance, the California Constitution has been amended 512 times. And, I mean, look at all the prop whatever. Like, pick your prop. You know, it's Prop 13, Prop 56, Prop 98. Like, all these...
1A through D.
Yeah, and they talk about, you know, the problem is, well, people voted these in, right? Okay, well, when they advertise these props, they just say, like, basically, well, do you want your taxes raised? And people say, hell no, right? So that's really like how they advertise those. They don't really give a fair, balanced look at the prop, and they get through. And, you know, there's a whole other problem with the 2/3 vote. So once one of those props get through and people realize, wow, this was a really bad idea, it's a lot harder to reverse that. And so on and so forth. It's just they called it it's the Faculty Association of Community College California. The FACCC. They called it the budget deadlock. California's in a state of deadlock with their budget, and it's quite accurate in that description.
How do you feel a lot of the students have been reacting? Have they been really open about getting involved, or have you've kind of noticed a lot of students just kind of on the sidelines and have this kind of defeatist attitude?
I think it really depends. Some students, due to the sort of demographic of community colleges, a lot of people are working while they attend class, so it makes it harder to be involved. So many students can be passive. In the hall, kind of in a busy area during lunch, I'll pass out flyers and try and get people involved. And people aren't necessarily always really responsive to that. But the people who are excited about it and are kind of wanting to get involved really throw themselves into it, which is awesome.
Such as you guys.
Yeah.
And I think I can comment on this. As a reporter, I would encourage people, if they read a story that's, that means something to them, that they respond and interact with their news outlet and send letters to the editor and, go on to the website and comment on stories and, have conversations with these people. And if a local news outlet isn't talking about things that you think they should be, you can write to them and tell them, you should be talking about these issues. And so, hold your news outlets accountable and, start a conversation if it's not being had.
Right.
I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, and I think like the odds are against people who think they might want to do something, but they're isolated. If you don't have people around you who are saying like, wow, like let's really think about this. Or they say there's no money. Well, let's ask why. Let's look into it. It takes initiative to do that, and if there's not people around you that are doing that, it's a lot harder. So and if you're isolated, you're not thinking about that stuff because it's just no opportunity to. All you hear is Schwarzenegger saying, well, everyone needs to tighten their belts. Everyone's losing, and you just got to deal with it, and that's totally unacceptable because what's dealing with it? People are falling through the cracks every day, like people we don't even know about.
There's actually one teacher at our school. Her name is Mariella, and I hate to say I don't know her last name, but she's the speech teacher, and she's actually been working with some of her students who are actually homeless because of the budget cuts, because people aren't getting their financial aid or what have you, and like in that sort of situation, it's how can we let it get to that?
So, as the last question, what's the next step? You guys held a teach-in rally this past Saturday, November 7th. What's next on your agenda?
We have a few things coming up.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes. On March 5th, we're having a winter party against the cuts. December.
December 5th. Yeah.
Jesus. Yes.
Edit that.
Edit that out, please. That'll be edited. December 5th, which is a Saturday from 12 to 3 in the Berkeley City College Student Lounge. We're having a winter party against the cuts. It's a potluck. Bring something yummy. And then in January, we'll be having an organizers meeting to organize for the march in March. And then that march will happen. And up until then, it's a lot of meetings with smallish meetings with people from different schools and whatnot. Sort of point people,
Well, thank you guys for sticking around. So I remember during the October 24th conference, there's this one guy, he's very direct in what we are supposed to do. And he said, what are we doing? Marching forth. When are we doing it? March 4th.
Yes.
So thanks you guys for coming on Soapbox Derby.
Thank you
it's been
for
a pleasure.
having us.
Thanks, Lee.
Awesome.